Barbara, can you hear me? Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Wonderful.
I had to vote.
I hope your presidential election was not as exciting as what ours was about 2 weeks ago.
Well, everyone is on the edge of their seats waiting for the results. So, uh, well, there's a bit of tension around, but then it's okay. So far, so good.
Now, I got to ask you a question. I don't know enough about the stability of Ghana. I do know there are some African countries that always seem to be on the verge of civil war. I mean, is that a potential threat if the wrong guy wins that the war could break out there?
Not at all.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know with our last presidential election there was no war, but lots of people saying mean things on Facebook and on the news. So anyway, so you're ready to talk about the Boring Corporation?
I have the article the whole to find.
I lost you by the last 30 or 40 seconds.
Oh, I said I've been looking up the article the whole day. Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Saying that I've been looking up the article like the whole day to try and find the illegal issues in there. I hope you can still hear me.
There we go. Now I can hear you. Here's what I got. I read the article and then nothing until, can you hear me? If you're speaking, I can't hear you right now.
But I can hear you.
There we go. Now I heard you say that.
Okay, let's try again.
Okay. Please, ladies first.
Okay. So reading the article, I took it paragraph by paragraph, and the um, second paragraph. Wait, just a minute. The third paragraph. Sorry. A higher Airbus who were ready to, like, they were claiming to have a genius about the designs for the engines, and then it wasn't originally their idea, but from it came from like their previous the company they were working with previously, which was Airbus. Like they used the same thing on one of their aircrafts, and I think that is divulging a trade is because I don't think it's appropriate. I don't know what you think, but then I went back to my yeah, it's wrong to divulge a trade secret. The fact that you've been working in that company and no longer working there still doesn't give you the right to hand over the company's secrets to someone else.
Yeah, I had a
And so that was the first thing.
yeah. My thoughts on I wonder is that this is where obviously lawyers like Sister Stone get involved, but I wonder if that so much was a trade secret or that could have been something that they could have just discovered through testing on their own and figured out, hey, it does work better to move it in. But I, I totally, I'm confused on that one. Is it a trade secret or not? I could make an argument either way. Yes, it is, or no, it isn't.
Mhm. But then they said that Airbus did the same thing with one of their aircraft. And so doing the exact same thing, wouldn't that be um, like infringing on their patents or something? I'm just
Are you still there? I lost you after you said efficient.
yes.
I heard you a little bit. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Now I can hear you again. It's weird. I can hear you fine for a few seconds and then it cuts out.
Oh. Well, I'm saying that if assuming the idea that was given, they made some modifications to it before applying it to their airline, then that wouldn't be, I wouldn't consider it as directly divulging a trade secret and then infringing on another company's trade secret. But the fact that they were going to like use the exact same thing Airbus did on one of their aircrafts, that makes it a bit illegal to me.
Yeah, I see your point on that. I, my thought on that is kind of the way it's written. It does look like it was a trade secret. You know, if the article had gone in and saying, hey, you know what, we did some testing and we moved this here or we moved that there, and we found it was more efficient. I think if it said that, you could make an argument that they just through testing and research made a more efficient plane. But the way that it's worded, it does appear that it could be a potential trade secret violation.
Yes.
But and maybe another thing, if something else that's not really worded in here, they talk about the newest airline or the I know that's Air Fuss. Okay, I knew they're making fun of obviously they're making fun of Boeing and Airbus. Air Fuss. You know, with the article doesn't really say is, has the new plane been publicly announced or released, or is it for sale? Because if it's public information, well, heck, you could find a picture online and say, hey, you know what? They slid their wings back or they moved their engines in. Maybe we should try that. So I think there's some information that's not given that could make it fair what they did, but based just on what we're reading only, I understand you're thinking that this could be a trade secret issue. All right. What are your
And
other
then
thoughts on this?
the next paragraph where Michelle went to the um, engine companies to discuss possible solutions, and the comments from one of the uh, engineers on as to whether she would be able to understand the stuff that they were talking to her about. And she went and tweeted on, um, posted on Twitter and all that. I'm wondering if that is this discriminative in any way towards, like, is it a sexist comment towards the fact that she's a woman, and like maybe it's engineering stuff. You're not supposed. I don't think you can understand it because it looks like that's how she took it.
Yeah, my thought is on that, on her Twitter comment. I could see that being deemed to be slanderous, and the engine company could file suit against them for slander. Not so much on the completely sexist part, but on the faulty engine part. As far as the sexist part, I kind of look at that. First off, it's wrong. I mean, let me be upfront about that. But that's more of, you hurt my feelings. Saying that they have faulty engines, that is saying that what they're selling is junk. So obviously, shame on that mechanic or engineer. Yeah, it was an engineer. There we go, for saying what he said. But Michelle's actions were completely uncalled for.
Yeah. Well, I think she went a bit too far with a Twitter something, but well.
Just a bit.
So then it doesn't have any legal implications, does it?
Well, I mean, I could see Pratt and Whitley could file a lawsuit against her for slander. I mean, whenever you're, slander, defined as um, incorrectly publicly degrading another person or company, making false claims that could cause them economic harm.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, shame on the engineer for saying what he said, but that's having spent a lot of time, at some bigger companies before I started my own company. That's the kind of thing that when somebody files a complaint, you sit down, you have a nice stern talk with them and say, you dummy, it's not okay to say things like that. And then if it happens a second time, then you fire the person. But Michelle got her feelings hurt. Oh well, that's part of being a grown up. Your feelings are going to get hurt. Get over it. Obviously, the correct course of action would have been for Michelle when she got back to the airplane company to talk with her supervisor and have him reach out, or if it wasn't him, have someone else reach out to the engine company and so that they can have a sit down with that engineer. But yeah, that they're going on Twitter and saying what she said, that's, in my opinion, risk of slander. And not only against her, but you could use that, oh shoot, what's that phrase? Agency by, not estoppel, the other one. Agency by,
Necessity.
yeah, there we go.
Mm.
Where basically, she is acting in behalf of the company. So Pratt and Philly's not just going to sue her; they're going to sue Boeing or Boring, excuse me, because Pratt and Philly would get a whole lot more money out of Boring than they would out of her.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are your other thoughts?
Yeah. So moving on, the next paragraph, right after the portion that talks about Michelle, about their cockpit. When they were trying to test pilot and who also knew someone who was ready to give them some technology that they could use, and they didn't want anybody else to like have that about their navigation system. I'm thinking Boring was trying to say Bill was trying to get some form of, is it monopoly in this instance, because he wanted to be the only one, like the first and only one to have such cockpit technology, and that would give him a competitive advantage over the rest of the people who were also into that same kind of business.
Yep, I agree the same on that. In fact, I'm looking in my book right now. I was just looking to see exactly because they list various different anti-competitive. Let's see, would that be? So would that be exclusive dealing?
For sale of commodities.
Would it be exclusive distributorship? Yeah, it's definitely a restraint of trade. I think we both agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the birds.
The
Yeah, I'm not so
the
sure on
bed,
the. Are you there?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, see, on the birds, I'm not so sure on the. I mean, it's only a 2-page document we're looking at. There's not a lot of detail given in. I mean, so we don't know exactly how many birds there were, and was it a chronic problem, or it's just a sudden fluke where a flock of birds happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a lot on that we don't know that I think prohibits us from making a qualified opinion on was the airplane company negligent or not. I mean, if there's never been an issue with birds ever, I mean, I know companies have to plan for emergencies, but if there's never been an issue before, then there wouldn't be any reason for the company to think that there might be an issue. Now, as far as the selling her stock, that clearly is an issue of insider trading, something that I have to study constantly as part of my investment license. That's what you call trading on non-public information.
About the bed, if the pilots decide, what courts will they take this case to, and what is the tendency that they are going to, the ruling is going to go in their favor?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Can, where can they file the lawsuit? Like, what's for, even if like the case is ruled in their favor, what would the courts like? What would be the reason for?
I'm sorry, I brought up that last thing you shared with me. It was garbled. The entire thing you shared with me was cutting in and out. I couldn't understand what you were saying.
I was asking, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
There, now I can hear you.
Okay. Should the family of the pilot file a lawsuit? Filed a lawsuit, actually. Which court will they take the case to? And if they get a ruling in their favor, what will the basis be?
Sorry, your question was what was the basis, and then you cut out. So what was your full question again?
If the family of the pilots, I'm asking, which court can the family of the pilots present their case to, their lawsuits against Boring to, and what will be for a ruling in favor of the family?
Well, they would, as far as I mean, here in the United States, they would just file that just in your um, standard county court. Now, they could. This is the kind of thing where, and obviously they're suing for, one, the emotional tragedy of and the devastation of losing their spouse or their parent, um, and they also would be suing for um, lost wages. Obviously, that person's dead, so there's no income coming in. So based on the dollar values on that, I'm fairly certain they could also file that in a federal court. But that's what they're suing for, is for lost wages and pain and suffering. And I forget off the top of my head, I think pain and suffering, I think you can actually get an award of 3 times what the lost income would be. So, your typical test pilot is probably going to be making I'm guessing somewhere between $1 and $200,000. So if that pilot was only, say, he's 40 years old, so he would work for another 20 or 25 years. So let's say that he was making an income of $150,000 a year. Let's see, 150,000 times 25 years. So that would be $3.75 million in lost wages. And of course, you'd have to adjust that for inflation. That's probably going to take it up to about $5 million, and then another $10 to $15 million on top of that for pain and suffering. So that could easily end up being a $15 or $20 million lawsuit. So that at those dollars, that's definitely qualifies to go in the federal court system.
Mm.
And I've got a friend of mine. Actually, it's the young men's president in our ward. He's a corporate attorney, and he said that they actually prefer to have their cases in federal court, just because those are the more experienced judges. So sometimes when you're just in a regular court, a regular county courthouse, the judge may not understand the fine points of the law and why something should be one way versus another way.
Okay. Another thing is, Bill and his team promised their customers that they were going to deliver the aircraft in 2008. And as at 2010, there had been no deliveries. Could they be sued for that?
The only way they could be sued is if there was a delivery date in the clause of their contract, where if you don't have the engines to us by such and such date, which in this case we know it's 2008. And generally speaking, the way that you would do those contracts is for every, let's just say, every month that you're late in delivering the engines to us, you owe us, say, $1 million or something like that. So if that was built into the contract, and if the engine maker was late and refused to pay the late penalty, then that's the kind of thing they'd have to sue them on to make them adhere to the contract. So that's the potential lawsuit there. But once again, we get back to, it's a very short article, and there's a whole lot of details that we just don't know.
Hmm. Well, there's another portion with the issue of price discrimination. Getting to the end of the article where um, they promised to sell their aircraft for 57 million to the US flight company, and then they sold it. They charged
Oops, you cut out on me. Are you still there? Barb?
I was saying there's an issue on price discrimination also.
Okay. Can you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
and the last portion. Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
My thoughts on that are, we don't know, once again, because there's such a lack of information. And because there's two things that we don't know in this situation. One is um, how much additional other services are being offered, because a lot of times not only will the airline companies sell the plane to a company, but they will also do a lot of the mechanical work, the service work on the plane. So that can cause a change. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that we don't know is how many planes U.S. Flight purchased versus how many planes um, Jet Turquoise. There we go. I had to find the other name. How many planes they purchased, because it doesn't matter what you're selling. If it's toothpaste, toilet paper, or airplanes, the more you buy, the better price you get.
Good. Yeah.
If U.S. Flight bought 100 airplanes, perhaps at $57 million each, Boring can still make the profit that they're looking for. And maybe Jet Turquoise only bought 40 planes. Well, in order for Boring to make the profit margin they're trying to make, perhaps they could only discount them down to $60 million. And if you take a look at, and I just, because I read the Wall Street Journal every day for work, I see lots, because of the dollar values, I see lots of articles about, different airlines buying this and that, because those are usually orders that are hundreds of millions or sometimes even billions of dollars, depending upon how many um, airplanes are being purchased. And it's not uncommon for the standard list price of an airplane to be, say, $80 million, but because of the size of the contract or additional other services that that airline is going to buy, that they'll sometimes discount that as much as 50%.
Oh, okay.
So really the difference between 57 and 60 in the big scheme, just based on what I have seen and what I've read about big airplane purchase orders, really isn't that big of a deal.
Okay.
So because we don't know so many variables, we can't say was this a
A
what do you call it, price
deliberate
fixing?
attack.
Yeah, we can't say or not. It could be, but we don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, there's a lot of details missing, and this is when our final exam is going to be on.
I'm sorry. What's that last thing you said?
Is that there are a lot of details missing in the article, but that is what our final exam is going to be on.
Yeah, my thoughts on that are, if we get into a lot of these vague, ambiguous things, I think that's where the appeals process can come to play. I haven't done any of those yet just because of the time involved with that. And in fact, all but the last two exams, I was satisfied with the grade. The last two I didn't do as well, but I've got lots of other things going on. But yeah, this is one where once I see what my score was, I might be doing some appeals on that. So, and Sister Stone seems to be pretty fair and reasonable on looking at a different viewpoint and understanding why a particular answer was or was not given.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Barb, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
There's nothing. If I saw things correctly, there's nothing we have to submit this was just a chance for us to talk
No.
about the different issues. So I've enjoyed working with you. I appreciate your understanding of I have a very busy schedule and working with me trying to find times to do these things. So good luck on your exam. Have a happy
Same to you
birthday
too.
in 11 days. Have a happy birthday. And I'll chat with you later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, bye. Goodbye.
And wish your son a happy birthday for me too.
Thank you.